Are you walking around your life like a sleep-deprived zombie since menopause started affecting your body? You've tried everything from warm milk to Mary Jane, and you either can't get to sleep or don't stay asleep long enough to get a good night's sleep. You don't even remember what it's like to wake up well rested. Well, today we'll get into the nitty-gritty of insomnia and a shocking new solution that's so easy to use, you won't believe it. Welcome to the Women Rockin' Midlife Podcast, soulful wellness to elevate your second act. You deserve to deeply love every moment of your life, living your best life with pure joy, optimal health and abundance, with the energy, time, and inner peace to savor experiences with your loved ones and with yourself. Hi, I'm Jen Kunkel. Join me on this soulful journey to complete wellness in midlife and beyond. Let's talk about what lack of sleep means in your real life. You know, it just seems surface level when you talk about it, right? It seems like a minor thing. Oh, I'm just tired. I don't have energy. Yeah, I'm kind of feeling sluggish today. But what about when it happens every single day? Or almost every day for long periods of time? You're always tired. Always. Every day. You sleep, you wake up, and you're still tired. You have no energy. So that affects your productivity. You know what else affects your productivity? When you have a lack of sleep, you start thinking more slowly. You're not going to be as effective. You might even not be driving as safely because your reaction time will be slower. So that could be dangerous. You could be irritable. If you're really lacking sleep, you start getting irritable, right? Little things that would normally just roll right off, they just feel super prickly, and that might not be good for your relationships. What else? What other symptoms do you experience when you have a lack of sleep? Think about how this is affecting your life. Think about it beyond just your physical feeling. Think about how it's affecting your long-term health. Lack of sleep makes you more susceptible to disease. It increases your stress, and stress makes you more susceptible to disease. Do you know chronic lack of sleep is only 3 months? What about 10 years? Are you having it for 10 years? Oh my gosh. People don't understand what we're going through, right? A lot of people just don't realize. They think, oh, you're a little tired. What's the big deal? I've been tired before. They don't understand that it's a daily thing for years sometimes. How else is it affecting your life? I don't think people really give the consideration necessary to the importance of sleep. Sleep is so critical. Maybe we don't even really understand exactly why, but we do know that it's important. It's important for our mental and physical well-being. How is lack of sleep affecting your financial situation? If you don't have any energy, you're thinking more slowly. Are you as effective in your work, or if you have a business? Are you able to do everything that you want to do to generate the income that you'd like to have? Your relationships, just your recreational life. Like, if you're always tired, do you maybe feel like you can barely get enough energy just to do what needs to be done, much less do something to unwind and have fun? And then you wind up in this vicious cycle. So you're not ever doing anything for recovery, right? I was recently reading this book, 10x is easier than 2x, and that's actually one of the keys in the book. They talk about having that recovery time built into your schedule it increases your productivity. And recovery time could be anything. It's just like non-work stuff, shut it down. if you're having a lack of energy, let's say if you do have a business, especially, or maybe you have a very demanding job where you have to work a lot of hours, if you are constantly on, that can be exhausting. And then you can't get to sleep on top of it. The book is talking about having like tighter windows of more focused time where you focus on one thing, no interruptions, and you just get that work done. You get your list done, and then you shut it down and you don't think about work the rest of the day. It really makes a difference in feeling refreshed. So doing something like that could help you with your sleep. But there's more to that, So anyway, think about what this is doing to your life, to every area of your life. Notice that and ask yourself, wow, here's the thing is we just get so used to the pain, we get so used to the current condition that we don't even recognize how painful it is, how much impact it's having negatively on our lives, right? So it's like having a sore muscle in your neck. Let's say you have a tight shoulder muscle or something. And when it first happens, you're like, whoa, what's going on here? This muscle's really tight. And then the next day, it might bother you for a few days and you don't do anything to relieve it, or nothing's working to relieve it, even though you've tried. And eventually you sort of tune it out and you don't really notice it anymore. Yeah, that's what's happening with your lack of sleep. You're tuning it out and you're not even noticing how much impact it's having on your life. That's just what we do. To get by, we start not noticing what's happening every single day. It becomes the normal thing. It becomes normal, and it's not normal. It's not healthy. It's not good for you, okay? So what's causing the lack of sleep? Could be any number of things. For some women, it's night sweats. You have a higher body temperature. You start to get hot at night, or you start just oozing sweat, and that wakes you up because you're soaked. A heightened heart rate can wake you up, and that's a symptom of menopause. Changes in hormone levels like cortisol, the stress cycle, that can keep you awake or wake you up. Did you know that sleep issues could also be related to depression and anxiety? Anxiety might be a little more obvious. Maybe you can't stop thinking about something, or you're literally feeling super anxious, maybe even having panic attacks. All of this is related. So it's no wonder that lack of sleep is related to menopause, because all these other things are related to menopause. What can you do about it? That's the important part, right? What can we do about it? Well, let's say you're really into natural solutions. I mean, you could take medications, but if you're listening to me, you're probably not into that, because I'm all into the natural solutions. And even if you do take a medication, what are the side effects? Is it really helping the situation, or is it creating new ones? Maybe you sleep, but then you still feel groggy the next day. Or you take something like melatonin, and for a lot of people, I've heard that doesn't work for them. But is it just addressing the surface solution? Is it just addressing the surface? And it's not really addressing the underlying cause. So it's kind of like a Band-Aid. Is it really doing what it needs to be doing? Now, some people might find supplements that work, or medications that work for them, but make sure you pay attention and see, is it a Band-Aid, or is it really solving the issue? Now, I often recommend meditation, and a lot of people say, it doesn't work. Yeah, I tried meditation. It doesn't work for me. Okay, maybe that's true. And meditation is the kind of thing that does require developing a skill. It's not hard, and it's also not easy the first time you do it, the first few times you do it. It does take practice to get better, to be able to go into that deep state more easily. And the more you do it and the more consistently you do it, the easier it becomes. The other thing about meditation is if you pair it with deeper emotional work, with deeper mind-body practices and other types of mindfulness, it actually becomes way more effective. So I do these deeper mind-body practices that release emotional patterns from the body, and doing that helps you meditate more effortlessly. And it makes meditation more effective. So that's my take, and that's the direction I like to go in. Now, other things can totally affect your sleep too, and because it's affecting your hormones, it's affecting your well-being in general. Sleep habits. Now, if you just change your sleep habits, that's maybe going to only sort of help. It's like you have to have this whole integrated plan, right? And that's what's going to help. Food choices, exercise, your weight, all of these things are going to factor in. I like to look at it from a holistic point of view and look at what can you really do about it. When I was a teen and a young adult, I actually suffered from depression. And I started using some mindfulness techniques, very surface level, very basic. And even then, I noticed a difference. Now, I wasn't diagnosed with depression, but I did have suicidal thoughts. So I'm going to say I had depression. I'm not a doctor, but that seems to check out. Back then, it was the 80s. It wasn't common for parents to take their kids to a psychiatrist or psychologist or anything like that. And I didn't talk about how I was feeling. So nobody knew, right? I knew that I felt sad for no reason all the time. I knew that I had these thoughts. So in hindsight, I look back and I go, I'm pretty sure I had depression. I'm 100% sure I had depression. And I'm actually, that's cool that things went down the way they did because I found other ways to deal with it. And even as a young adult, they were starting to come out with, I think they had medications for depression already, like lithium or something, hardcore stuff. They were coming out with more information about depression, bipolar disorder. I don't think I have bipolar disorder, but I'm just saying that I saw things about how those kind of issues like mental illness was actually caused by chemical imbalance. And I was like, okay. But I know that when I meditated, I was actually fascinated with like yogis that could go without eating for days, or just the things that like these hardcore yogis could do, control their bodily functions. Like they could slow their whole, not just their breathing, but like everything down to the point where they would almost appear as if they were dead, but they weren't dead. And they could control their bodies to that level. I was fascinated with that. And so I thought, well, okay, it's a chemical imbalance, but that doesn't mean that I need to take a pill for it. If these yogis can control their bodies like that, I surely can figure out a way to balance out the chemicals in my body so that I don't feel depressed anymore and that I'm actually happy. And I did, I learned how to do that. I'm not going to say that I'm at the level of any yogi like that, but I definitely see a connection between some of the things I do and affecting your body. And now there's actually studies that back that up even more now, that the mindfulness can affect your chemical levels. Most of the studies that I've noticed so far are around stress and cortisol, which is great. This kind of work can totally affect your hormones. At least that's my experience. Like I said, full disclaimer, I'm not a doctor. I'm not giving medical advice. And if you feel like you need medication, then you talk to your doctor about that. I am here for the people who have already made the decision. I am not here to talk you into or out of anything. It's your decision, yada, yada. You get the idea. As I got older, I did even deeper mind-body work. And what I discovered is some of these practices make a huge difference than even just meditation alone, right? It works faster and it lasts longer. I'm convinced. I don't know if you're convinced. And I've used it for other things over the past 25 years or so. And it works. It works for me. Are you familiar with the map of consciousness and energy? And I'm going to tell you right now that this stuff actually seemed a little more out there to me when I first heard about it. That our bodies have this energy field and that we emit different frequencies based on our emotions. Apparently, there's been some studies. This guy, David Hawkins, he does muscle testing. If you don't know what that is, if you've gone to a holistic practitioner, like for allergy tests, they can use muscle testing to help determine what kind of things you have sensitivities to. It's used for all kinds of things, okay? There's different ways, like you might have seen where someone will put their arm straight out parallel to the floor and another person says, resist when I hold this up to you or when I say a certain word or something. If you don't know what it is, you can look it up, but you resist and apparently your arm drops down easily if you're sensitive to it, or it stays strong if you're not. And it seems like, oh, they could just be faking it when you watch it. But if you actually start doing it a little bit, you can do it with there's ways you can do self-muscle testing. And if you find one that works for you, you can tell. Sometimes it's a little tricky. It does take some practice. But anyway, so David Hawkins created this map of consciousness, and he used muscle testing to determine frequencies of different emotions. So the map of consciousness goes all the way from the low end, which is like shame, guilt, and then there's some stuff in between. And up at the top, it's love, joy, peace, and enlightenment. Each emotion he aligned with a specific frequency, and then you can muscle test for your own frequency to see what you're vibrating at. So you want to be, in the higher realm, love, joy, peace, enlightenment. In order to do that, there are different modalities, there are different ways, and different incidences in your life might be going on too. So this releasing of emotional patterns is intended to help you start to raise your frequency. Meditation can do it too. Different things that you do can raise your vibration to a higher point. And you fluctuate as time goes on, but you want to look at your overall general baseline, like what's your lowest point that you're at most of the time, or your average point, your baseline point, where you sit most of the time. For example, like when my dad passed away, I was feeling a lot of grief several years ago, and I was sleepless, and I found some frequency tones on YouTube, and I actually had not done anything like that before, but I know music therapy is a thing, and I thought this is kind of similar to that, right? So it helped me sleep and feel more at peace when I listened to these specific frequency tones. Like I said, this is something that actually took me a little bit longer to warm up to. So I didn't dive real deeply into this until maybe, I don't know. I dabbled in some of it here and there, and more the recent years, probably starting around then, I got really deep into it, and I was like, wow, this is actually pretty amazing and incredible. So I now have come across this device that does a bioresonance frequency scan, and it scans you for your emotional frequencies, and it finds what's out of balance, right? And then it generates custom tones to balance your emotions. And this particular device creates about a 12-minute playlist, and I've been using that. In less than 12 minutes, I put that on, I lay down. I don't even have to use headphones. I think it's way more effective if you use headphones though. But I'm usually out before it finishes in the 12 minutes. Pretty cool, right? All right, so let me give you a 3-step sequence for power sleep that incorporates some of these ideas. Just a real simple thing that you can do, put into action right now. 1, have a set bedtime. All right, I'm going to admit to you, I don't do that all the time, and I can tell the difference when I don't. Number 2, an hour before you go to bed, turn off all your screens, read, journal, and meditate. And then number 3, lay down. And you can actually do this part before. You can turn on your customized optimizing frequency tones before. Or you can listen to generic ones on YouTube. But if you want more information on how to get your customized frequency tones that are customized to your specific emotional imbalances that help balance them, then I'm going to put a link in the show notes for that. Let me know how all of this works for you, or if you have other bedtime routines that help you. Because any routine's going to help you. It's having a set routine. The screens, right? I mentioned turning off the screens. So one thing is when you're looking at a screen, just with your naked eye or regular glasses, your brain, the way the light emits from the screen, your brain thinks it's like midday. So that's going to make it hard for you to sleep. Turn off your screens before bedtime. And also you might want to consider blue blockers. I started using those. I don't know if I noticed a difference, if I'm being totally honest, but I'm using them. Anyway, check out the link in the show notes for if you want to find out more about getting those optimizing frequency tones that are customized to you. I'll see you next time.